If money has ever felt confusing, stressful, or harder than it should be, you're not alone. Most people are never taught how money actually works, so they end up reacting to it instead of managing it. In this video, you'll learn a clear, beginner-friendly roadmap for building wealth from the ground up, starting with stability, then moving into saving, investing, and long-term thinking in a calm, realistic way. There are no shortcuts here and no pressure to act fast, just simple systems and habits that make money easier to understand and easier to live with. Let's start by slowing things down and looking at how wealth is really built, one step at a time. Before we talk about building wealth, let's slow down for a moment and reset the pressure. If you're watching this, chances are you felt confused, anxious, or even embarrassed about money at some point. You might feel like everyone else understands finance except you. Or maybe you feel late, like you should have started years ago, and now you're behind. Let's clear something up immediately. Wealth is not built by intelligence, luck, or secret knowledge. It is built by clarity, patience, and simple systems repeated over time. This video is not about shortcuts. It's not about becoming rich fast. It's about learning how money actually works and how a normal person starting from zero can slowly build stability, control, and eventually wealth. When we say starting from zero, we don't just mean zero money. We mean zero structure, zero confidence, and zero understanding. That's the real starting point for most people. The mistake beginners make is trying to jump straight to investing or passive income before fixing the foundation. That's like trying to decorate a house before building the walls. So the roadmap we're going to follow starts at the very bottom. No assumptions, no prior knowledge required. The first concept you need to understand is that wealth is not income. Income is what comes in. Wealth is what stays, grows, and supports you when you stop working. Many people earn good money and never build wealth. Others earn very little and slowly do. The difference is not salary. It's behavior. Imagine two people earning the same amount. One spends everything, upgrades lifestyle with every raise, and relies on the next paycheck. The other lives slightly below their means, saves consistently, and invests slowly. 10 or 20 years later, their lives look completely different. The reframe here is simple. Wealth is not about how much you make this month. It's about what you repeatedly do with what you make. Before saving or investing anything, you need one thing above all else: stability. Financial stability means your life is not constantly one small problem away from disaster. If a minor expense sends you into panic, you are not ready to think about growth yet. Stability starts with awareness. You cannot manage money you don't see. Most financial anxiety comes from vagueness. People don't actually know where their money goes. They just feel that it disappears. So the first practical step is tracking, not budgeting. Budgeting feels restrictive. Tracking feels neutral. For 1 month, simply observe. Write down or log what comes in and what goes out. No judgment. No fixing yet. Here's an example. You might discover that small, forgettable expenses add up more than you expected, or that certain bills are larger than you realized, or that you actually have more flexibility than you thought. The reframe is that tracking is not about control. It's about clarity. And clarity reduces anxiety. Once you can see your numbers, the next concept is separating survival from progress. Survival expenses are the things that keep you functioning: basic housing, food, utilities, transportation, minimum debt payments. Progress expenses are everything else. This distinction matters because beginners often try to cut everything at once and burn out. That never works. Instead, your goal is to first secure survival, then slowly redirect progress expenses toward your future. For example, if all your money is going toward survival, your first wealth-building move is not investing. It's increasing margin. That margin can come from small spending adjustments, negotiating bills, or increasing income slightly. The reframe is that wealth starts with breathing room, not stock picks. Now we need to talk about debt, because debt creates confusion for beginners. Not all debt is equal, but when you're starting from zero, simplicity matters more than optimization. High-interest consumer debt, like credit cards or personal loans, acts like a negative investment. It grows against you. If you're carrying this kind of debt, building wealth means stopping the leak first. That doesn't mean you obsess or panic. It means you prioritize eliminating the most expensive debt while maintaining basic stability. Imagine trying to fill a bucket with a hole in the bottom. Investing while ignoring high-interest debt often feels productive, but mathematically it's working against you. The reframe is that paying down destructive debt is not a setback. It's a guaranteed return. At this point, many beginners ask the same question: How can I build wealth if I barely have anything left? This is where time becomes your greatest asset. Wealth is built with consistency, not size. A small amount invested regularly over a long period can outperform a large amount invested inconsistently. What matters is starting the habit early, even if the numbers feel insignificant. Let's introduce the concept of paying yourself first. This does not mean saving huge amounts. It means deciding, in advance, that a small percentage of every income goes to your future before lifestyle expenses expand. For example, even setting aside 5% creates a psychological shift. You stop seeing saving as leftover money and start seeing spending as what remains after progress. The reframe is powerful. You don't save what's left after spending. You spend what's left after saving. Before investing, you need a safety buffer. This is often called an emergency fund, but the name scares people. Think of it as a stress buffer. Its purpose is not to grow. It's to protect you from having to make bad decisions under pressure. Without this buffer, every unexpected expense becomes a crisis, and crises destroy long-term plans. A realistic example: your car needs repairs, or you have a medical bill. Without a buffer, you use high-interest debt or sell investments at the worst time. With a buffer, the problem stays small. The reframe is that safety is not unproductive. It is what allows productive behavior to continue. Now we arrive at investing, which is where many people feel overwhelmed. The internet makes investing seem complex on purpose. Complexity sells courses and opinions. For beginners, investing should be boring, slow, and understandable. You are not trying to outsmart the market. You are trying to participate in it. At its core, investing means using money today to own productive assets that generate value over time. For most beginners, the simplest form of this is broad market investing. Instead of trying to pick individual winners, you own small pieces of many companies. This reduces risk and removes the need for constant decision-making. Consider this example. Instead of guessing which company will succeed in the next decade, you invest in a broad collection that represents the economy. As businesses grow over time, so does your investment. Some fail, some succeed, but the system moves forward. The reframe is that investing is not predicting the future. It's aligning with long-term human progress. Risk is an unavoidable part of investing, and pretending otherwise creates fear later. The key is understanding the difference between short-term volatility and long-term risk. Prices will go up and down. That is normal. The real risk for beginners is not market movement. It's emotional reactions. Panic selling, chasing trends, and changing plans constantly do far more damage than market downturns. A simple reframe helps here. When prices drop, nothing has happened unless you act. Volatility is the cost of admission for long-term returns. If you cannot tolerate fluctuations, you need to reduce risk, not abandon the plan. Now let's talk about time, because time does most of the work in wealth building. Compound growth is not magic. It's math combined with patience. Early on, progress feels slow. This discourages people. But over long periods, growth accelerates. The challenge is that humans are not naturally patient with invisible progress. Imagine planting a tree. For years, nothing impressive happens above ground. Then suddenly, it grows rapidly. The reframe is that slow beginnings are not failure. They are the nature of compounding. Another critical concept is lifestyle inflation. As income increases, spending tends to increase automatically. This is one of the biggest reasons people never feel ahead, no matter how much they earn. Building wealth does not require extreme frugality. It requires intentional upgrades. You decide which improvements actually increase quality of life and which are just expensive habits. For example, upgrading comfort or reducing stress might be worth it. Chasing status often is not. The reframe is that wealth is not about denying yourself forever. It's about choosing what actually matters. At this stage, some people start thinking about passive income. This term is often misunderstood. Passive income does not mean no work. It means decoupling income from time over the long term. Investing income is one form. Other forms require upfront effort, skills, or capital. The danger for beginners is chasing passive income ideas before mastering basics. A realistic approach is seeing passive income as a byproduct of stability and investment, not a starting point. The reframe is that boring foundations create optionality later. We also need to address comparison, because it quietly sabotages progress. Social media shows highlights, not processes. Comparing your starting point to someone else's middle creates unnecessary pressure. Wealth timelines differ based on circumstances, responsibilities, and geography. A simple example. Two people start investing at different ages with different incomes. Their outcomes differ, but both can improve their situation relative to their own baseline. The reframe is that progress is personal, not competitive. Another overlooked part of wealth building is skill development. Increasing earning power expands every other strategy. This doesn't mean chasing every opportunity. It means gradually improving skills that the market values and that you can realistically maintain. Over time, even modest income growth compounds dramatically when paired with good financial habits. Think of income as the engine and investing as the vehicle. Both matter. The reframe is that wealth is built by aligning multiple small advantages, not one dramatic move. As your system matures, automation becomes important. Automating saving and investing removes willpower from the equation. Decisions made once are more reliable than decisions made every month. This is how consistency beats motivation. For example, automatic contributions ensure progress even during busy or emotional periods. The reframe is that discipline is easier when you design your environment correctly. At some point, you will face market downturns, income disruptions, or unexpected life changes. These moments test systems. A well-built system bends without breaking. That's the goal. Not perfection, but resilience. Long-term wealth is not about always being right. It's about staying in the game long enough for probabilities to work in your favor. People who fail often don't fail because of one bad decision. They fail because they quit. Let's pause and recenter. If this feels like a lot, that's normal. You are not meant to master everything at once. This roadmap is sequential, not simultaneous. Stability first, clarity next, consistency after that. Growth comes last. A powerful mental shift is viewing money as a tool, not a measure of self-worth. Financial mistakes do not define you. They are feedback. The goal is learning, not perfection. Shame keeps people stuck. Curiosity moves them forward. As years pass, wealth building becomes less about tactics and more about behavior. Staying patient during boring periods, staying calm during downturns, staying consistent when progress feels slow. These are not dramatic skills, but they are rare. If we reframe the entire journey, building wealth from zero is not a race to a finish line. It's a gradual reduction of stress and increase in options. First, you gain control. Then flexibility. Eventually, freedom of choice. We should also talk about what wealth is not. It is not constant consumption. It is not never working again. It is not eliminating all risk. Wealth is the ability to absorb shocks, make choices intentionally, and support your life without constant fear. Over decades, small decisions become large outcomes. The person who invests modestly, avoids destructive debt, lives intentionally, and stays consistent will almost always outperform the person chasing excitement. So if you remember nothing else from this roadmap, remember this. You don't need to know everything. You don't need to start perfectly. You just need to start deliberately. The calm path works. The boring path works. The patient path works. And the moment you stop trying to win quickly and start trying to build slowly, wealth stops feeling mysterious and starts feeling manageable. That's how wealth is built from zero. Not all at once, not without mistakes, but one clear step at a time, over a long enough horizon, with a system you can live with. If you stay consistent, stay curious, and stay grounded, the results will come quietly. And one day, you'll look back and realize that what once felt impossible became normal. Not because you found a secret, but because you followed a roadmap designed for real people, living real lives, building real wealth. One of the most common emotional traps beginners fall into is the feeling of being too late. This feeling quietly pushes people into rushing, over-risking, or copying others. The truth is uncomfortable but freeing. Most real wealth is not built early, it is built correctly. Many people who start early waste years making emotional decisions, chasing trends, or constantly restarting. Meanwhile, someone who begins later with patience, structure, and clarity often progresses faster and with far less stress. The real advantage is not age. It's behavior. When your decisions are calm, consistent, and repeatable, time works with you instead of against you. The reframe here is important. You are not late. You are early in understanding how money actually works. Another source of anxiety is the belief that you must optimize everything. Beginners feel pressure to choose the perfect account, the perfect strategy, the perfect allocation. This creates paralysis. In reality, The difference between a good simple plan and a perfect complex plan is small compared to the difference between consistency and inconsistency. A plan you can follow beats a perfect plan you abandon. Imagine two investors. One spends years researching, changing strategies, waiting for certainty. The other chooses a simple approach and sticks with it through ups and downs. Over time, the second almost always wins. The reframe is that simplicity is not a weakness. It is a strength. As you move forward, your financial system should feel boring. That might sound disappointing, but boredom is a sign that stress has been removed. When money decisions no longer trigger anxiety or excitement, you are doing something right. Emotional intensity is usually a signal of risk or confusion, not opportunity. At this stage, it's useful to think about wealth as layers. The first layer is survival. The second is stability. The third is growth. The fourth is flexibility. Many people try to jump straight to the fourth layer without securing the first three. That creates constant instability. When you respect the layers, progress becomes smoother and more predictable. Let's talk about setbacks, because no long-term plan survives untouched. You will have months where you save less, invest less, or feel discouraged. This does not mean the plan is failing. It means life is happening. The mistake is interpreting temporary setbacks as permanent failure. A simple reframe helps here. Progress is not measured month to month. It is measured year to year. One step backward does not erase 10 steps forward. What matters is returning to the system, not punishing yourself. Another important concept is financial identity. Over time, you want to stop seeing yourself as someone who is trying to manage money and start seeing yourself as someone who does manage money. This shift is subtle but powerful. When behavior becomes part of identity, consistency becomes easier. For example, instead of saying, "I'm trying to save," you think, "I'm someone who saves automatically." Instead of, "I hope investing works," you think, "I follow a long-term investment plan." The reframe is that habits stick when they match who you believe you are. As wealth slowly builds, your goals will change. Early on, the goal is safety. Later, it becomes freedom of choice. This might mean the ability to say no to bad work, take time off, help family, or simply feel calm about the future. These benefits arrive quietly. There is rarely a dramatic moment where you suddenly feel rich. That's another misconception worth correcting. Wealth does not usually feel like excitement. It feels like reduced fear. It feels like options. It feels like not checking your account before every small decision. The reframe is that success feels calmer than you expect. We should also address mistakes, because avoiding mistakes entirely is impossible. You will buy something unnecessary. You will miss opportunities. You may invest at the wrong time. These experiences are part of the process. The danger is not making mistakes. The danger is repeating them without reflection. A healthy approach is treating every mistake as data. What triggered it? Emotion? Urgency? Comparison? Fatigue? When you understand the cause, you can adjust the system instead of blaming yourself. The reframe is that learning is more valuable than being right. Over long periods, the biggest enemy of wealth is not market crashes or economic cycles. It is impatience. Impatience leads to abandoning good strategies before they have time to work. Remember, most wealth-building strategies are slow by design. Speed increases risk. Think of it like physical health. Crash diets promise fast results and often fail. Sustainable habits work slowly and last. Money works the same way. The reframe is that slow progress is not a flaw. It is protection. As your confidence grows, you may feel tempted to increase risk. This is not inherently wrong, but it should be intentional, not emotional. Risk should increase only when your foundation is strong enough to absorb losses without changing behavior. If a loss would cause panic, the risk is too high. A simple question helps here. If this goes wrong, will my life still be stable? If the answer is no, the position is too large. The reframe is that survival always comes before optimization. Eventually, you reach a point where your system runs mostly in the background. Saving, investing, and planning happen automatically. This is when wealth building stops feeling like effort and starts feeling like maintenance. That is the goal. Not constant focus, but quiet reliability. At this stage, many people realize something unexpected. The habits that built financial stability also improve other areas of life. Patience, delayed gratification, long-term thinking, emotional regulation. These skills compound beyond money. If we zoom out, building wealth from zero is really about learning how to make decisions that respect your future self. Every small action is a message to that future version of you. Some messages say, I didn't think ahead. Others say, I protected you. And here is the most important truth to end on. You do not need to become someone else to build wealth. You don't need extreme discipline, obsession, or sacrifice. You need clarity, consistency, and time. That's it. If you move forward slowly, forgive yourself quickly, and stay focused on systems instead of outcomes, wealth stops being intimidating. It becomes a natural result of living slightly below your means, investing patiently, and staying calm when others panic. That is the complete beginner roadmap. Not flashy, not dramatic, but realistic, repeatable, and grounded in how real people actually succeed. And if you are still watching, that already tells you something important. You're not looking for shortcuts. You're looking for understanding. And that mindset alone puts you further ahead than you might think. As you move forward from this point, the most important thing to remember is that wealth is not built by dramatic decisions. It's built by quiet ones. Decisions no one applauds. Decisions no one sees. Most of the work happens in ordinary months where nothing exciting happens. And that's exactly how it's supposed to be. There will be moments when you feel like you are doing everything right, yet progress feels invisible. This is one of the hardest psychological phases. Humans are wired to respond to immediate feedback, but wealth responds to long-term behavior. When results lag behind effort, doubt creeps in. This is where most people stop, not because their plan was wrong, but because they mistook silence for failure. Here's the reframe that keeps people going. If your system is sound, time is doing work even when you can't see it. Just like seeds underground, progress is happening out of sight. Another subtle challenge is boredom. Once the fear fades and the urgency disappears, money management can feel uneventful. Many people unconsciously sabotage themselves at this stage, searching for excitement or novelty. They change strategies, chase new ideas, or take unnecessary risks simply because the process feels too quiet. But boredom is a signal of stability. It means your system is no longer demanding constant attention. The reframe is simple but powerful. Boring finances are healthy finances. As years pass, your relationship with money will change. Early on, money feels emotional. Later, it becomes practical. Eventually, it becomes almost neutral. This neutrality is not indifference. It's confidence. You know your system works, and you trust yourself to handle challenges when they arise. At some point, you'll notice that financial decisions no longer dominate your thoughts. You're no longer calculating every purchase or worrying about every fluctuation. This mental space is one of the most underrated benefits of wealth. It's not about luxury. It's about peace. It's also important to recognize that wealth is not static. It requires occasional adjustment as life changes. New responsibilities, family, health, priorities. The roadmap adapts, but the principles stay the same. Spend intentionally. Save consistently. Invest patiently. Protect stability first. When mistakes happen, and they will, the key is response. Calm correction always beats emotional reaction. The goal is never to avoid mistakes entirely, but to recover quickly without derailing the long-term plan. If you ever feel overwhelmed again, return to the basics. Are you spending less than you earn? Are you saving automatically? Are you investing for the long term? Are you avoiding decisions driven by fear or comparison? These questions are anchors. They bring clarity when noise increases. One day, often without realizing it, you'll look at your situation and notice something has shifted. Not a dramatic transformation, but a quiet one. Less stress, more options, more confidence. That's when you understand that wealth is not a destination. It's a condition where money supports your life instead of controlling it. And here's the final reframe that ties everything together. Building wealth from zero is not about becoming rich. It's about becoming steady. Steady people make better decisions. Better decisions, repeated long enough, create wealth. If you take anything from this roadmap, let it be this. You don't need to rush. You don't need to compare. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be consistent, patient, and kind to yourself while learning. That's how real wealth is built. Quietly, gradually, intentionally. And if you stay on that path long enough, the results won't shout. They'll simply show up in the life you're able to live. Let's take a few more minutes to fully land this, because endings are where understanding settles into memory. If you've stayed with this entire roadmap, it's worth acknowledging something quietly important. You chose to slow down. In a world that constantly pushes urgency, shortcuts, and noise, Choosing patience is already a financial decision. Most people never give themselves the space to truly understand money. They react to it. You're learning to respond to it instead. From here on, your progress will not be measured by sudden breakthroughs. It will be measured by fewer financial emergencies, fewer emotional decisions, and fewer moments of panic. Those changes are subtle, but they compound just like money does. Stability builds confidence. Confidence improves decisions. Better decisions shape outcomes. There may still be times when fear returns. Markets will fluctuate. Expenses will surprise you. Life will test your plans. When that happens, remember that fear is not a signal to act. It's a signal to slow down and return to your system. Systems protect you when emotions rise. Another quiet truth is that wealth building is not linear. There will be flat periods where nothing seems to move. These are not wasted years. They are the years where habits harden and discipline becomes automatic. Later, when growth accelerates, it rests on those invisible foundations. You might also notice that as your finances stabilize, your definition of success becomes more personal. You stop chasing numbers and start valuing control, flexibility, and time. This shift is natural. It's a sign that money is moving into its proper role, a tool, not a target. If at any point you feel tempted to abandon simplicity for complexity, pause. Complexity often disguises insecurity. Simple strategies followed consistently outperform complex strategies followed inconsistently. Always return to what you understand clearly. And remember this, you are allowed to move at your own pace. Someone else's timeline is irrelevant to your life, your responsibilities, and your starting point. Comparison doesn't accelerate progress. It distorts it. As the years go by, the effort required to maintain your financial life will decrease. What once felt difficult will feel routine. What once felt impossible will feel normal. This is how compounding works not just in money, but in behavior. Eventually, you may realize that the biggest benefit of building wealth from zero wasn't the money itself. It was the sense of agency. Knowing that your future is shaped more by your decisions than by randomness. That awareness is powerful, and it extends far beyond finances. So if you ever need to restart, recalibrate, or rebuild, know that nothing is lost. Skills don't disappear. Understanding doesn't vanish. You can always return to the roadmap. Stability, consistency, patience, that's the real advantage of learning how money works instead of chasing outcomes. And with that, this journey doesn't end. It simply becomes quieter, steadier, and more intentional. Take your time. Stay grounded. Keep going. That's how wealth is built, one calm decision after another. Building wealth isn't about doing something dramatic. It's about making a few clear decisions and repeating them long enough for time to do its work. If you focus on stability first, build simple systems you can live with, and stay patient when progress feels quiet, the results come naturally. If this way of thinking about money was helpful, you may want to watch the next video in this series, where we go deeper into how beginners can start investing calmly and responsibly over the long term.